to get to a couple wrestling questions real quick before we get out of here. Survivor Series, we know it's in Chicago. We know War Games is going down, but everybody's big question has to deal with Chicago's favorite son. Is it happening?
Oh my God.
Want it to
Okay.
happen?
Do I want it to happen? If I think I would want it to happen only to see the reaction from the crowd. The pop would be it would be up there with some of the biggest pops of all time. Hearing, Cult of Personality and CM Punk comes out to the ring to help out Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso and Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins. That would definitely be a huge crowd pleaser. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. I do hope it does, just for the simple reason of, you know, it would be one of those moments, but I just don't know if I see CM Punk in the WWE right now. I just don't know where he would fit in. I think there's enough storyline going on, and there's guys who I'm actively rooting for, like a guy like CM Punk, like LA Knight,
Yes. I was
who
just about to get
it's
to the
so
man, the megastar. Yeah. LA Knight. And where does he go now? As he obviously lost that championship match to Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. But I said it, and again, I know a lot of people don't watch the Saudi shows for certain reasons. But again, I did not grow up in the Stone Cold Steve Austin Rock era. I grew up in the sort of John Cena, Randy Orton, Triple H, Edge, Ruthless Aggression era.
you missed out.
And from what I have followed with LA Knight, yeah, that is the wildest pop I think I might have ever heard from a wrestler before a match going into that championship match.
He is one of the few wrestlers in a long time that has, I don't even know if I can think of someone who organically got over, who just naturally the crowd gravitated, the people gravitated towards him. And maybe it's because he is a bit of a throwback to the attitude era with the Rock and Austin, and people remember that. Or if it's just, or he just naturally, he oozes that charisma. And whatever it is, he's good on the mic. He's good in the ring. He hits his spots. He doesn't have to have 1,200 moves. He's entertaining. And I think the best way to build him up would be to go up the ladder, which in my opinion would be let him. I think the perfect thing for him is taking the US title off of
From
Logan
Logan
Paul.
Paul, and I completely agree because Logan Paul and a lot of wrestling fans don't like Logan Paul. I don't remember him having a bad match, and I
He's
think ever since
naturally gifted in the ring.
yes he is, and I think ever since he has sort of engulfed that being a heel because when he first came in, he did not want to be booed. And I think ever since he realized, like, oh, they legitimately hate me, I can tap into this and embrace being a heel. His character work has gotten better. It's not great, but he's gotten better on the mic. And I think LA Knight would be the perfect person to dethrone him and carry the United States Championship, maybe even to WrestleMania out there in Philadelphia.
I agree 100%. I think if if that's the way they were going to go, I think that you have Logan Paul drop the title to LA Knight at Survivor Series. That would be, I mean, the pop would just be massive. Because people hate Logan Paul, just because they don't like his personality. I don't really have a problem you know, with Logan Paul. I think he's a phenomenal wrestler for having, what, 7 or 8 matches.
Yeah, I mean, every time he steps to the ring, he looks like he was born to be a professional wrestler.
Yeah. So I mean, but I mean, he's pretty universally hated, just generally. So I think that he'd get the booze, and LA Knight would get the pop. But I think the question is, do you keep trying to ride the wave and do it at WrestleMania, or do you pull the trigger sooner and you do it at Survivor Series?
Yeah.
If I'm the WWE, I pull the trigger sooner and do a Survivor Series, and then have a lead up with LA Knight and someone else, um, and then another, LA Knight and a heel into WrestleMania and finish it there. So that's what I would do. But I think that you don't, LA Knight proved that he can hang with Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel, and that loss is not going to look bad on him. And now you put him on the ladder, U.S. title, give him give him a decent lengthy run with it leading up to WrestleMania, and then you go from there. Because in my opinion, there's no one that can take the belt off of Roman besides Cody. It's got to be Cody.
I think you're right. My only thing would be if LA Knight gets more popular. I don't even think
I
you think you can
they're
do it at Mania 40. I think that, if Roman and Cody, which I think is obviously the direction they're going, which I think the caveat may be if the actor strike's still going on and they want to strike and do the dream match with The Rock at WrestleMania 40, I think it's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities. I know you're not necessarily wanting the match. I know a lot of fans don't necessarily want the match, but I think it's The Rock or Cody. And if LA Knight gets more popular, you can, ride the wave and you can do it down the line.
If you go I can understand the business aspect of it if they do The Rock, because I think Roman would beat The Rock, and the reason I believe that is so that he can get the next milestone, which I
Which
want
is
to say
Hogan.
is
Yep.
Hogan. So you can then do that, and then have Cody go at SummerSlam, which is going to be here in Cleveland, Ohio.
We think 99%. We are not going to
Yeah,
confirm it yet, but we really hope.
we're pretty. There have been a lot of reports, and
Yes.
there's where there's smoke, there's fire. But I think I just don't know if you want to wait that long. I think that I don't know how, I kind of feel like everyone knows what's going to happen with in either match. I think you kind of know what's going to happen. If he faces the Rock, he's going to win. If he faces Cody, Cody's going to win. So it doesn't really matter what happens. It's just a matter of I don't know if you want to wait until SummerSlam and see if Cody cools off. I think that you want to strike while the iron's hot, let Cody finish the story, and then continue on from there. Um, because it's going to be very interesting to see what happens once the belt is off of Roman Reigns.
I personally think if they go Roman and Cody wins, I think Roman will sort of go away. I think that there's going to be that big break, and maybe he comes back, and maybe you do the match The Rock the next year without the championship, and maybe Roman
Yeah,
becomes a face. I mean, I don't know, but I think if Roman loses the belt, it's not like he's going to stick around and they're going to do a rematch with Cody at Backlash or whatever the next pay per view would be. Like, I think
no.
it's going to be Roman takes a massive break. He comes back, and it's just maybe he's the most pissed off person in the world, or maybe maybe he goes away for a while and doesn't come back for a real while.
Someone actually, oh no, that was a different thing. I was going to say someone had the idea of um, if CM Punk does come back, he ends up on Mondays, and Damian Priest gets kicked out of Judgment Day for Drew McIntyre, moves to Fridays, and that gives SmackDown another heel who just happens to have the Money in the Bank briefcase too. To
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. The one thing I will say as we sort of wrap up here is what we have seen, and it's really been over the past year or so since sort of Triple H has taken over as head of creative. It does feel like WWE now has a plan. It does not feel like that they're throwing shit at a wall. And I think sometimes fans get mad because we all have these expectations and we all get drawn in and we're all like, yes, we're rooting for LA Knight to be Roman, even though we all know it's not gonna happen. And I think that WWE has done a good job of this is our plan. We're sticking to it. and we're not going to do hot shot booking just to up a rating or to get people talking on the internet, which it felt like they were doing there for a couple of years at least.
Yeah, I mean Triple H has done a phenomenal job in the chief creative role, especially with Vince really being gone now. Um, yeah, and a lot, I don't know if you saw, but the NXT signed a deal with the
Yep.
CW,
I
so
I just
and it
talked
and
about
it
that at the time of this recording. It'll be up tomorrow in Brand's World. But for NXT to go from the third developmental brand that obviously Triple H created, then they went to the WWE network, then to go to the USA network. And I know it's the CW. I know it's one of those, buried on broadcast television type things,
they'll,
but it's
they'll
still
get ratings.
broadcast television.
They're gonna get they're still gonna compete with AEW. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just I mean, NXT it's fun to watch. It's what an hour long, I think.
I believe it's two.
Is it two? Okay.
Now I'm very interested to see if it stays on Tuesdays, or do they feel like with their recent momentum they can compete with Dynamite on Wednesdays?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I'm not sure. I just think that I think the move to CW is a good move. They were able to get another network and not have to cram all the wrestling onto USA. Um, so
I am
that's a
still interested to see where Raw lands. I think it could go anywhere. I've heard FX. I've heard Amazon Prime, which I think would be very interesting. I think it's a legit option. I've also heard, there are rumblings, and we talked about this before. Usually, where there's smoke, there's fire. Of Warner Brothers getting involved and maybe dropping AEW for Raw. I've heard it from multiple sources. Raw's TV deal is going to be a domino effect, I think, because Raw and AEW's deal with Warner is up at the same time. And I think all of that depends on a little bit of the NBA too, of what Warner's going to get from the NBA package, because those rights are up. They're all
right.
intertwined together, and it's fascinating to me.
And it's gonna be crazy to see what happens in the upcoming months and where everyone lands.